Yes, people, how are we doing? So we're back with the Do It Right podcast, and we've got a guy who definitely does it right in today, and that is Fraser Reynolds. So you may have seen me post about Fraser with the results that he's got, alongside obviously speaking at the Inspirational Summit, and overall, like this guy has turned into a very, very good friend in the process, like a lot of kind of my one-to-one clients and the previous agent clients have done, and it's just been incredible to kind of see his journey, because there's going to be certain things that people don't expect when you get into entrepreneurship and leadership, and overall, like, Fraser's just a guy who is happy-go-lucky. If things go wrong, it doesn't fucking matter. Just move past it and move on to the next thing. And it's definitely a trait that a lot of fitness professionals, a lot of entrepreneurs basically need to have, and he's just basically kind of got that natural instinct. Yeah, he might hit the roof and stress every so often, for example, but that's just business, and that's just obviously what happens. So just as a little bit of a starting point, do you want to kind of do a little bit of a short story that's basically got you from where you were to where you are now? Because Fraser put a post of day and collabed with me, and there were a lot of shit on that post that I had no idea about in any way, shape, or form. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing this little roundup here.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on, first of all, but I will go through this a lot more at the summit. But yeah, I think for me, probably starting off in life probably wasn't the best. Dad left with his best man's wife, and then missed pretty much the start of primary school. So after that, I was kind of falling behind. I was chasing right from the get-go in terms of like getting pulled out of primary school, pulled out of secondary school, to go and sit and learn how to read and write again. So that was the big thing for me. So I always felt like I was chasing something. I always felt like I was behind. And then from there, I had a conversation with my PE teacher coming out of secondary and said, fuck, I need to do something here. I was in with the bad kids. I was in with bad George, who just got put in prison there for murdering somebody. So I was in with the bad kids. You know what I mean? I was mixing with the wrong people, just doing the wrong things. Had that conversation, and then from there, just locked myself away from absolutely everyone. Started going to tuition 3 times a week. Just wanted to be something, and then from there, I've just kind of taken it in my stride to make sure that, you know, I felt worthy, that I felt part of something. So again, once I kind of got that vision and I knew what I wanted to do, it was a case of get the head down, got myself into uni, scraped in, fuck knows how. But
Fine.
with that, once I was in there, it was just a case of grinding out, became a PE teacher. From there, started my own kids' fitness business. After that, went on, done the whole PT quals, started running a gym with a few mates. We built it up to 2 facilities, 400 members. And then from there, moved across to Australia. I was a manager in a gym in Australia, had maybe 6 or 7 members of staff underneath me. That's when I kind of learned that whole kind of empathy towards other people, and probably just stood me in good stead for understanding people, you know, understanding what makes people tick. And a big thing that I try and do with everybody is understand the person before understanding the coach. I think we're all too quick to just suddenly employ people and just expect them to speak your language right away, but it's going to take a little bit of time to mould them into that person that you want them to become. So once I'd kind of been out in Australia, came back, started the kind of online world, and then from there just kind of things went mad. Things went absolutely mental. When I came back, I was walking around Tesco one day and I said, fucking hell, the price of chicken is mega, mega expensive. If I'm looking at that and going, that's expensive, everyone else must be struggling.
Yeah.
So I went away and started my own mini series, and I was one of the guys, one of the first standing in the kitchen with a receipt. 12 meals for 20 quid was my thing. And I just ran that. And then from there, my whole Facebook just went absolutely bananas. And then, you know, clients were a lot easier to pick up because you had them in your ecosystem. You had them in a place that, you know, they felt like you were the kind of authority piece and you could nurture them. And then it was very easy to pick up nutritional clients because people think I'm mental, that I just throw out food all the time. But the reason I'm throwing that out is because it throws a huge net over people who are interested in their overall well-being. And for me, it's worked very, very well in getting people in. But that's kind of how it went to start off with. It's going to be a short intro, eh? And then from obviously coming on board with yourself, we've obviously just grown strength to strength, built out a whole team of coaches. which I'm absolutely loving working with them. Although some days I'm tearing my hair out, and I do have those little crybaby moments, and that's why having yourself and the team to lean on works really, really well for me. But yeah, I mean, since then we've kind of grown in loads of different areas. Whether it is just team management, whether it is making sure that we're optimizing our systems and processes. But yeah, it's just it's kind of went a bit crazy in the last 6 to 12 months since coming on the agency.
Yeah, so obviously what Fraser's not mentioned there is he's actually an author. So he's launched two cookbooks. When he's talking about blowing up on Facebook, he's got like 75,000 people in a Facebook group. He has, is it 75? Is it more than 75,000?
No, I think we're at 75, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 75,000 people in a Facebook group, which is like, it's very, very unheard of to be able to like do that, guys. Like, it's very rare that you'll come across that. He's also had like a recipe app. He's actually, launched an app, didn't go well, then relaunched an app. Like, that's the type of person that he is. He's just go, 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 go. And I remember like there was so many times I was like, bro, we need to fucking slow this down. We need to like there's a certain point where there's too much shit going on and you're way, way, way too overstretched. And when basically Fraser came on, I was like, I remember that first discovery call, and it was listing out. It's like, you've got coaches, you've got challenges, you've got this recipe app, you've got the cookbooks, you've got all that. And I was like, all right, well, who's in your organization? And not bearing in mind, Fraser was still running his full acquisition and sales system. So he was basically in client fulfillment, he were in acquisition and sales, he had all this different shit going off elsewhere, and I was like, how the fuck are you? I was like, how are you even doing this? Like, that was genuinely the question. It was like, when I was looking at the scalability of the business, and he's smashed life out since then, but I was like, I remember just sitting there and going like, I can manage a lot of shit. Like, I'm fucking ADHD, ASD. Like, I'm good at management. I'm good at doing a lot, but like the amount of different moving parts and fingers in pies that he had, like, it was like something that I'd never seen before. So it was mint because it basically gave us an immediate solution, which was like, right, we in essence need to build out the acquisition and sales system which you're not stuck into. We then need to make sure that you've got a coaching team, you've got the right type of admin support, and you've got everything else. So that basically allows you to just focus on obviously what you do best. And one thing that I loved about kind of Fraser's story is it was very, very, very similar to me when I kind of started scaling my business, and I've got like a team of like 20 people now. And you basically have this, you almost start to have this bias where you feel bad and you feel guilty. Like, you've got a guilty bias that, oh wait, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. And that's something that Fraser like had to really heavily overcome. I was like, mate, like, the reason that you've got these people is so that they can do that for you. I know that you trust them, but you've got to let go of that guilt to understand that the best thing that you can do for them and this client base is to focus on where the business is going at all times. So just as a little bit for my audience, like, how would you explain the process of you having to overcome that feeling of going, right, doing everything yourself, to having this full team? And in essence, like, it's not even a case of like looking at team management skills, because Fraser's values there at the start of the call was like, I'll look after the person, then look after the professional. You can't fucking go wrong with that type of mindset. So management and performance of people was never going to be an issue, and he had experience there. What Fraser had to overcome was that guilt. So how did you overcome that? Because I know you're still struggling with it now.
Yeah, it's definitely a daily struggle, actually. But I think for me, the first thing with building out a team is finding your kingpin, finding your main man. And that took me a little bit of time. But once I had that guy, and Gary is an absolute... Like, the guy goes above and beyond. He just, the hours that he puts in, the graft and everything like that. So the first thing I'd be very clear on is making sure that you find that person, and then from there, everything else is built around them. All decisions are ran past them. You communicate with them. I'm literally on fucking WhatsApp to this bastard every single 10 minutes, every single fucking hour. Do you know what I mean? He's fed up with it, but at the same time, once you've got that, then you can start to delegate tasks to him, and then from there, delegate tasks to the team. So when I'm trying to get over that kind of fear, I make sure that I check in with him and say, look, are you happy taking this on? And he'll always say yes, but then from there, I'll say, who are you going to give it to? Like, who are you passing that to? And then we've got a rule where we basically go through it, and you show them, you ask them to show you, and then you check and feedback. And we try and use that system every single time, so that everyone is clear. Because rather than me just saying, oh, I want you to go off and, do this task and then do that task, show me how you're going to do that. Explain to me, start to finish, how you're actually going to do that task. And then I'll give you feedback on it, and then you can go away. And that's something that I've learned throughout the process, because what I often found was I was giving people tasks and then they'd go and do it in their own way. And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've just given them pish instructions. But in terms of that guilt, it took a long time. It's still something that I'm working on, but you've got to remember that you're paying these people for a reason, and the thing is that they actually want to help you. If they respect you as a leader, they will want to come in and help you. And if they're 100% behind you and the vision and the business, then they will want to help you as well. So it took me a little bit of time, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I think the kingpin is really important. So like, obviously, it's very obvious in my company that Rob Sturman, my best mate, he's that person for me. So he was a teacher, and I was like, when I was, in essence, like Fraser will know this, but I built my company based off my friends who I knew had the right skill sets in different areas or experience, because I was like, if I'm going to have people representing my brand and my company, I want them to be people that I completely and utterly trust, right, so as my core framework. So as you'll see with mine, I have Rob Sternham as my Chief Operating Officer, Beth Rendell is one of my other really good friends, my Client Success Director, and then Ben Mahmood, who is my also day one best mate, is my sales director, who used to do like sales and stuff for Virgin Gym. And I think that like what people often overlook, like Fraser said at the start of the call, is like, right, I've got a person in here, they're just a moving part, they need to do something. And there's such an element when you've got to understand that people have a different perception and viewpoint than you, and people have different expectations. And the moment that you have a misalignment to expectations or a misalignment to perceptions, then that is when you'll basically start to have conflict, and that's when you'll start to have problems. So what Fraser's there, but he's basically spoke about something called quality assurance. So we have a quality assurance channel in our Slack. So basically, as everybody in there, and in essence, if it's something that needs to be submitted or done, it has to be posted into there, and at least 2 or 3 people need to greenlight it before anything goes out. And a lot of the time when you're scaling your business, and like Fraser grew fucking rapidly, like hundreds. I remember fucking seeing it. I was like, this guy has got unlimited potential. And that was the reason for looking at like the scalability with a low ticket app alongside running his challenges, because I was like, fuck me, like this guy has got such a ridiculous level buy-in. It is crazy. And that basically comes back to the fact that he cares about people. He cares about people with his audience. He cares about people with his clients. He cares about people with his team. And I think that the moment that you go into business or go in, especially within this sector, like, look, I can't say the same for like different businesses and that out there. Like, it's very different. But when it comes to fitness, like, it's the health and well-being sector. It doesn't matter if you've got a setter, if you've got a closer, if their job is to just make fucking money, you still need to care about them as a person. You still need to find out what their kind of best strengths are. And that's something that, like, I think is a skill set that really, really takes a while to start to kind of understand and articulate. And like the rate of progress that Fraser has made, because he's had that ability to trust people and look after people, it like is absolutely fucking foundational and fundamental. And another thing that I really, really like that Fraser brought up was previously, where in essence all he's ever done is food, right? Don't try and fucking fix something that isn't broken. Like, don't try and reinvent the wheel. I've done this in the last 2 years. I was in a great place with social media because I was just being my fucking self, posting about what I want, doing whatever. I then started to think, I need to go in this direction because X, Y, and Z are, and I need to create this type of content. I did that for 6 months, and my content was shocking. Gone back to just being completely authentic and myself, and it's working again. And I've seen this before where people have I've had a client, but I'm not going to mention who, but I've had someone before who was very, very well known for food, and then they went away from that and its shit just started to break. And I was like, when you've built up like the amount of hundreds of thousands of followers like Fraser has got, like, even if you've got to find ways in which you can absolutely, completely and utterly maintain that level of kind of consistency. So Fraser's thing at the moment is like, was it quick 6 meals in them glass bowls or something? Yeah,
so I'm just kind of chucking things into glass bowl meal preps, and they look an absolute treat, man, to be honest. Like,
banging.
Oh,
but it's like that type of, so like, it's like, do you know what I mean? But he's probably doing 5 or 6 or whatever videos of that on bounce, and they're just banging, and they're popping, and they're popping, and they're popping. Like, so why change it? you find that one topic or that one content style and whatever it is, and you rinse the life out of that until people are genuinely not bothered about it anymore. And then you're like, sweet, I'm gonna get creative, get innovative, and I'm gonna do a different format. And that's how you basically got to basically look at your social media, is like make it as specific as possible and be known for one thing. So I'm obviously, do you know what I love is the fact that I was actually on a podcast with Chris Bradley yesterday, and he basically, and he's a great, I'm sure Fraser knows him as well, like both Scottish, they're all class, the tight-knit community out there with the haggis animals and that, but yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. But Chris was like, look, one thing I really like about you is it's really clear what your message is with Do It Right. And I love that. And he basically said to me, he was like, I was actually in a conversation with someone the other day and it rolled off the tongue. And I was like, you just need to do it right. And for me, I love the fact that I've slowly started to cement that message now. And I feel like this is an area that fitness professionals go wrong with because they're scared of just putting all their eggs in one basket. They're scared of kind of just having almost like not having, like diversifying themselves. And I was like, you don't need to fucking be like 10 different things. You just need to be that one thing that people like and one thing that people attach to. And as a starting point, you've got to make sure you actually enjoy doing that shit. Like, because otherwise, imagine if Fraser fucking hated food, for example, right? But he'd launched 2 cookbooks, doing all these, and I'm sure he gets fed up with it sometimes, but there's always an element where he's like, well, I'm actually making food and I do enjoy it off the back of him, right? But he's got to maintain that kind of enjoyment. So what is it, one question I've got here is what is it, what was it about food? Why? Because you spoke about this temporarily in your reel the other day, which is a story I did not know. But why is it that you lent into food rather than training, for example?
So you've probably seen on the reel that I got diagnosed with an eating disorder. So I was the same height I am now, which is 5'10", and I was weighed in at like 6 stone, probably at my worst. So I was in with like psychologists, sat in the circle room, having to kind of tell them about my feelings and everything like that. And it was horrible, do you know what I mean? And it was at the point where they were, trying to drip feed me and everything like that in terms of food. So I was very, very quickly spiraling out of control. But the big thing for me, I think a lot of it stemmed from that I wanted to be these people in the magazines, but I didn't have the education. So I was seeing these topless guys with the big muscles and everything, and I just didn't understand how, I just thought that you had to eat less. I used to do some really, really crazy shit, man. So to the point where like I would get up and leave restaurants if I'd like had something that I felt was like going to make me fat. Say I had like pizza or something, I would get up and leave a restaurant and go into the toilet and start doing press ups on the toilet floor. I remember being on holiday and my dad like forced me to eat something, and I left it was like an all inclusive hotel. I left the breakfast and I went and I ran up and down the hotel stairs as many times as I could because I just didn't have the education and knowledge to understand how calories work.
That's mental,
that. It was horrific, do you know what I mean? But I think a lot of the food kind of stemmed from that. So I had a big interest in food and stuff like that because I could control the food. So I used to make all the food in the house growing up, like for my mum and my brothers and stuff, because I wanted to be in control of it. So that was my little thing to get over my kind of eating disorder.
How old were you when you realised, how old was it when that started, do you reckon?
Probably like 13, 14.
It's crazy that such a young age in it to be thinking that deeply into food.
I used to walk 10 miles with, those ankle weights. I used to put them on and like go walking. Like, it's fucked, man. Absolutely fucked in the head. But, I can, what I love about my job is I can actually identify when people have a disordered approach towards food now. I can pick it up straight away. I could fucking see right through you straight away. Do you know what I mean? Which is great for me. And it's not that I'm going to diagnose anybody, but I can, make them aware of it and why they're maybe doing that. And the big thing for me with the food was a lot of PTs, in my opinion, are splitting up families because you've got mum and dad.
That's a good topic. This is the type of spicy shit I like. So PTs are splitting up families, and I know where you're going to come with this, and I agree.
Yeah. So mums and dads are eating normally 2 separate meals, and then the kids are eating different meals. You remember the days when families would sit around tables and everybody would sit and enjoy the same meal? We're adamant. We do every single night. We eat together, and we have slow cooker with some of your recipes as well. Yeah.
But no, I fucking, this is such a good talking point, this.
Yeah, and that was the big kind of driving force for me, was like, fuck, there needs to be another way to do things. Like, I need to get families sitting around tables again. I need to get families excited about food. I need mum and dad to know that, you know, they don't need to be eating the chicken, broccoli and rice. There needs to be another way to do things. So,
Do you know what's so funny about this, mate? So me and Stacey were actually, I can't remember who I was speaking to about this the other day. When me and Stacey first got together, so this is like it's been a long time now, 7-8 years ago maybe. In the first 2 years, we were living together, but we never ever ate together, never. Like, so, and I was like, because basically in the last few years, I've cooked every single night, and because I do love cooking, and it's something that's probably my favorite pastime away from like just other shit. But Stacey went through a period where she basically started cooking every single night, and I couldn't even remember it. And I was like, well, did I not cook before? Could I not cook before? And she was like, Ben, we never used to eat together, because like you were on a diet or I were on a diet, and I'd be coming home from PT at a certain time of night, and she'd have had tea separately. And I was like, it was like literally the only time that we ever ate together in the first 2 years of our relationship is we went out for food together, which is fucking nuts when you think about that, for 2 years. And I remember, I was like, Stacey, I can't even remember you ever cooking me a meal at the start.
I know, it's a real shame as well, because, and what really scares me is I grew up with my mum always on a diet, always at a slimming club, always trying to lose weight. I don't think people are really considering that kids are always watching. They're always observing, and they're always picking up on what you're doing on a date. If you're constantly talking about being on a diet, starving, trying to change your body image, that's really, really going to impact on that child growing up. And I don't think enough has been done by parents to talk about their dieting process out with the home. It should not be happening inside the home.
No, I agree. It's like it's just people's education and awareness for understanding. Like, look, when you're got it. Do you know what's mad? I've never had this conversation before. I actually did my dissertation was parental knowledge on child nutrition. I remember that's literally what my dissertation was on, and basically as part of that process, I had to do like a massive assessment of like 80 to 100 parents, and do like almost like an assessment of what their kind of basic principles of nutrition knowledge is like, and it was like fucking absolutely incredibly low, and it was so scattered all over the place. And what you've got to kind of take into account when you look at that is like, it's hard to believe that because there's so many people out there. So you've got like Fraser, you've got Sean Casey, you've got Beth Dobson. Like between them, you're talking like millions of followers. But there's for the amount of people that is putting out the right message, there's also the same amount of people, if not more, who are putting out the wrong one. And I really, that's such a mission that, like, for example, like that's an area that I did not know about, like Fraser, in terms of like, it's almost like a mission that you want to get more families sitting down and eating food together. And I love that. So I had a team meeting with my full company yesterday, and I was like looking at 2025 and basically making sure that everyone in the team knew what the vision was and everything else. And I remember, and I was like sat there, and I was like, "What is our main focus this year?" And I basically wrote it out, and it was like, our mission is not to earn more money. Our mission is to change the perception that people have on the fitness business mentoring space, one client at a time. And I feel like people they don't have that. Like, for example, Fraser's earned a fucking lot of money. Right, he's earned a lot of money. He's done very, very well. He's like fucking living life in Portugal. He's getting a pool put on. Is a pool on top of your apartment now?
Yeah, we just put it up there, so it's not. I mean,
lucky bastard.
You're talking as if like I'm living in this. Like,
no, but like for example, mate, compared to a general population, like you're financially well off. But the thing is, if you look at Fraser's journey, there, he's not come in and gone, right. Yeah, I'm just doing this because I want to earn shitloads of money. Like on any of my podcasts with my clients, if you ever like Sean Casey was exactly the same over there. Like, what's your actual mission? None of them are turning right, and these are guys who are doing very, 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 very well, right? And it's not a case of coming in and going, right, sweet. All I want to do is I want to just do this because I want to earn money. Like, Fraser's got a mission there, whereas like, look, my mission is to get more families eating food, right? The benefit is the fact that what he does can be, that will obviously monetize that. But if I were going to turn around to Fraser and be like, look, what's the one reason that you turn up every single day? It'd be like, it's 'cause it's for the people. It's like it's for the people, because if he doesn't turn up, then he can't turn up for those people. If he doesn't turn up for those people, then that type of negative kind of stigma out there associated with food is not going to improve. And he's obviously got to be highly motivated by his business. But like, I did a podcast with Ocean Mulligan about 2-3 weeks ago now, and we spent about 30-40 minutes which spoke about the importance of meaning and purpose behind what you're actually doing. Like, if you don't have like I'm completely bought into this. Like, if you don't have meaning and purpose behind your actions, then you're never going to make progress. Like, even if it's down to you want to make money, why do you want to make money? Right? If you want to create content, right, why? What purpose does it have? What does it mean to you? And like, as you can basically see with Fraser, like, it's the people that mean something to him. It's the mission of getting more families sat down eating food together. Like, and I know as soon as, that's why I was like, that's so good, because I know that he lives and breathes that shit every single day. And it's just an area that people just don't look into, because it's like, actually, wait, tell you what, I'm gonna turn up today, but all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try and send as many messages out as I possibly fucking can. What's the meaning and what's the purpose behind there? Where's the quality assurance of what you're actually doing? Like, how are you managing the actual people that you are getting through into the business, or is it just a case of you trying to get more people through the door? Like, having that type of purpose and having that type of mission there, it gives you the foundational structure and confidence for absolutely every single fucking thing that you need to do in business. Because when shit doesn't go right, so for example, Fraser, we tried using an app, but it weren't right because it didn't have certain features. Like, Fraser could have turned around then and gone, right, well, I'm just going to sack it off. But he didn't, because he got a fucking mission. It's like, right, that's not worked, I'm going on to the next thing. And same again, it'll get to a point down the line where what he's doing now won't be working as well, so he needs to move on to the next thing. And it's that mission what's keeping him forwards and keeping him going. And I feel like it's just an area that people just don't really obviously kind of look into. So, like, my question to you here, bro, is like, at what moment was it when you kind of realized that? At what moment was it where you like kind of clicked and went, actually, wait, like, people aren't fucking doing this? Was it your own experience? Was it looking at social media, or what would it be?
I think first and foremost, like, coming from being a PE teacher into the world of fitness, you've seen on a day-to-day basis the education that teachers had, but also the education that kids were leaving school with, which for me kind of broke my heart a wee bit as well. And it's still the same. You know, I don't know if you remember growing up, but in the UK, you used to have that dinner plate, and it had like the carbohydrates on one side, the protein.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same dinner plate that they still use today, which is just ridiculous. But for me, the big driving force is that the mission will never change. The mission is to get more families enjoying better food in a way that allows them to connect on a day-to-day basis, and that's always going to be the same. But I think, as you've mentioned there, you need to have that purpose, you need to have that reason to wake up. And the big thing for me is, I've said to you before, it's never really about the financials. The financials are great, don't get me wrong, it allows you to live a life that you really want to live, but at the same time, the big thing for me is the 50 odd messages that I get every single week saying, Fraz, you've just completely changed me and my family's life. The way that we eat now, the way that we connect. You should see the family group WhatsApp. It's going off. Oh, what are we having for Frazzy's book tonight? Stuff like that gets me excited. That's what gets me. I'm like, fuck, this is brilliant, man. And then even just like walking through Edinburgh, we went to the rugby. My brother and my uncle were there. Folk are coming up to you saying, "Oh, Fraz, I absolutely love your recipes." In front of my brother and my uncle, I'm like, this is unbelievable. The impact that we are having on just the general population is just outstanding. And then with that as well, like my mum, she goes down to her like mature aerobics and stuff like that, and she walks in there like the celebrity. She absolutely loves it. Do you know what I mean? She's absolutely milking it. Do you know what I mean? She's in there handing out books to all the other.
I love that.
I get me to sign them, and like she's in this leisure centre, man, and she's like the celebrity. Do you know what I mean? They're like, I had Frazzy's korma the other night. It was absolutely brilliant. You know, like for me, that beats any financial. You know, to see your mum that proud and just see her buzzing is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Like the day that I went and told her we were Sunday Times bestseller was wild. Do you know what I mean? Walking in there and just saying, do you know what? Like we've done pretty well here. And the big thing was, like, because I wanted it to be so family focused, the whole book was designed by the family. Mum, brother, uncle, auntie, cousin, all had an input in both those books. The
That is
missus,
so
she
cool.
she does absolutely everything in terms of the recipe app. I don't do any of the recipes on the recipe app. She does all the recipes. That is her app. She runs it as her own app, right? Which is unbelievable, and people absolutely love the recipes. I might do the voiceovers and have a wee bit of banter and whatever else on there, but the main thing is it needs to be something that the whole family's excited about. The first thing that I done with the paycheck that I got from book number 1 was took the whole family to Portugal. Everything on me. 14, 15 people, massive villa, flights, the full shebang. I spent the full lot on taking everybody on holiday because that for me that just means so much more than any, I don't know, any
100%.
bank or anything like that. It's just moments like that. I'm like, this is it, man. Do you know what I mean? If I die tomorrow, I'm like, I've went out the way I wanted to go out with that vision, with that mission in mind, and I think people need to remind themselves of that as well. When you're setting up a business and you're in the health and wellness space, do it for the reasons that you really, really want to do it for. Don't just do it because you want to make money.
Yeah. Right. Do you know, to all my consistent and loyal listeners, what you will notice is look at the type of people that I work with and what they're about and how much it aligns to me as a person. And if you have been watching my YouTube videos, you'll actually see that it's a YouTube video that basically says, what did I do with my first 100 grand month a fair few years ago? And I blew 40 grand of it in 7 days. I did exactly the same. I flew all my fucking mates out, got a villa on fucking Palm in Dubai, rented Lambos, Ferraris, G-Wags, went out and ate at fucking expensive meals every single night. And I remember my accountant giving me such an hard time about it. And I was like, yeah, but if it weren't for those people, I could have been in a very different spot in life. So if I've hit that point now, I'm not slowing down. And do you know why I'm not slowing down? Is because those people won't let me slow down. I said, but why? If I'm going at this type of speed and velocity, you can fucking bet that I'm going to take people along with me. And I feel like that's such a good mindset to have. Look, guys, you've got to be sensible. I'm not saying you need to go out and do mad shit all of the time, but I'm a massive believer in celebrating success. Do you know, if you have a fucking if it's a small win, a big win, or whatever it is in between, share that moment. One thing that I've never really had to worry about with Fraser, and this is a very common thing along entrepreneurs, is they don't feel success. I've been in that situation myself before, but Fraser's the type of person where he'll accept those wins. He's not one to boast about it. He's not one to brag about it, but he'll accept that that's a win. And the thing is, for me, is if I didn't buy stuff for my family or buy stuff for my friends or invest into different areas, knowing that my daughter's security is for the rest of my life, I wouldn't do I swear to God, I would not do what I do, because I'd have no passion for it. I'd be like, well, yeah, I can go and buy a supercar. Sound. How long is it going to be until I'm bored of that? Or what experience? I'm going to drive that. That's mint, and maybe one day I might get a supercar. But it's for me, when I turn up every single day, I know that if I get myself and get this company into an incredible position, I can give the people around me an absolutely ridiculous quality of life. I spoke about this on a podcast the other day where I was my vision and the real deep focus of look, what is the real why to why I do this? It's because in 10 generations, and this is not just next generation, it's not my daughter or my daughter's daughters, I want 10 generations of the Hawksworths to have a fucking foundation and opportunity that they would have never been able to get before. And when I'm fucking dead, never, because I'm indestructible, but in 4, 5, 6 generations to come right now, when people turn around and go, we've got a good life here. I want it to be because I created that much opportunity for people that I changed the trajectory of my family line. And that's something that just gives me so much inspiration and so much power. I'm fucking, because I'm not doing it for myself. Fraser's exactly the same as me. Is that if it was a case of, right, you need to turn up every single day to then get that, and then sweet, you can buy yourself a Rolex each week. Fuck that, I'll just go and get a normal job what's less stressful. Because this job and running your own business and being an entrepreneur and having to turn up on social media every single day to have to keep clients happy and keep them fulfilled is very, very difficult, right? And do you know what's even more difficult? When you care, right? When you so that's one thing that I noticed with Fraser straight away. And I basically we've spoke about this before. I was like, when you get to a certain point in business and you are pushing that much volume, it is impossible to give people the attention to detail of what you and support that you would have expected when you first started. And what I basically said to Fraser is like, look, the guys who are joining your challenges are going to get value associated with a challenge. Someone who is joining the app is going to get value associated with what they're paying for an app. And that's a big roadblock that Fraser had to overcome. I was like, mate, like, take a look at why you're getting stressed and upset about this. Is you've got to look, if someone's paying 10 times less, you don't need to give them 10 times more. But Fraser's natural initial thought process was like, I need to give these people everything. They need to have that, need to have this. It's like there's always Fraser's massive, which is very different to any other client I've ever worked with an app, by the way. But like his biggest asset, it's never about like how good the app is. It's never good about the recipes. Yeah, they're good, but for him, it's like the community element is absolutely everything. It's like whether it's the fucking most premium top level app known to man with the biggest automations, functionality, or design, or whatever it is, the moment that people aren't in a community, that's where Fraser's model breaks down. So what you've got to look at from there is, oh wait, why is fucking Fraser built such a good community? Because he's such a good fucking person. Because he genuinely gives a fuck about people. And then what you've got to take into a point from there is like, right, how do you build out a £1 million company or a multi-million pound company? Having the right community, having the right culture, having the right people, having the right team. So, for example, like when you look at building out an enterprise, like I always call a business like Fraser's an enterprise. We've got multiple avenues. When you've got an enterprise, I've seen enterprise businesses where they've basically got someone in the main man seat who's a bit of a twat, and it's diluted and poisoned everything below down there. So like Fraser's obviously up here now, and he's got all these different organizational structure, moving parts, offers, and whatever else. But the culture and energy and attention to detail and care that he would have on a single micro level has to be the exact same when it comes to the macro overview. And there's not that many, I'm going to be honest with you, there's not that many people, and not that many people I've worked with who got that shit right like Fraser has. One of the biggest, and do you know why I'm saying that? It's because I didn't get that shit right. I did a story which was about 3 days ago, and I was like, do you know what? I was talking about the meeting that I had tomorrow, because I've been a lot more open sharing stuff that I do with my own team, and I was like, do you know what? I'm absolutely buzzing about this fucking meeting, is because for the first time since I've ran teams and companies and cultures for 6, 7, 8 years now. It's like I basically pinpointed. I was like, wait, I am exactly who I want to be as a leader, and that's taken me. That's genuinely taken me over 5 years of making a lot of mistakes and doing things in the wrong way. So it's like what Fraser's done and what he's achieved is not an easy feat, and it's not an easy task in any way, shape or form, and is going to have challenges, because when you start putting more people into a process, you start to have more problems, right? And then from that point, and you've got more volume, you're going to have more problems. But it always comes back down to, in my opinion, that backbone of doing it right. So doing it right for me is not just about me going, right, Fraser, here's a Google Drive document which has got performance reviews, client review meetings, fucking SOPs, and all this type of shit. And here's the videos, and also I'll do a walkthrough with you. That's a thing, right? What you got to think about Fraser is doing it right for him is doing the right thing for people, and that there's a choice. I always say that doing it right comes down to a choice. Doing it right comes down to common sense. It comes down to authenticity and being a good person, because there are a lot of companies out there and a lot of people out there who do not give a fuck, right? And I have seen these, I'm not going to mention names, I've seen people who have not given a fuck, and I've seen their businesses completely fold on itself. Because all of these little tiny situations over time start to populate, and then they start to accumulate, and then they start to speak to other people. And what you basically have is that spreading, for me, is like poison in my head. And it's the exact same for Fraser, because I know this full well, where someone's commented on something with an app and it's like, oh my, like the anxiety that it creates for you of thinking, oh my God, they're not going to be happy, then it's going to spread to other people. There are a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs out there who do not have that, and it does not compute with them. And that they're the type of people where, yeah, they might have a bit more of a stress-free lifestyle initially, but they're not going to grow anywhere near as much, because it all comes back down to like, how much do you actually care about feedback? Like, Fraser could have 5,000, well, fucking, it wouldn't shock me in a few years if there was 5,000 people in his enterprise, in his establishment. If one person left bad feedback, that'd hurt. Like, and I know that for a fact. I was having a conversation with Jen Woolrich, who one of my old clients as well, who's Scottish as well, and she owns a company called Built to Coach, and they do basically, what's it called, where you can submit feedback but you don't put your name to it? Anonymous, yeah. She was basically doing anonymous feedback, and I was like, let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how much anxiety you've got when you read them. And she was like, Ben, I absolutely hate it every single time. And more often than not, when you've got that type of mindset, people aren't complaining because you care that much about the fucking product and program that people aren't submitting bad stuff. But when you care, you're like, oh my, even if it's one person and needle in a haystack, it's like, oh, that hurts me. Like, so for like, and it's that just, in my opinion, that just comes down to a choice. You can't be taught that. Like, you can't be taught it. It's something that comes down to having a choice and kind of taking action from that point. And then it's not just about having the right values, it's about living and breathing them. So one question I've got to you, Fraser, now is, what I don't know, this is one question I actually wrote down on a notepad, I've just seen it. Can you basically explain to me what your day looked like before you worked with us? Right, so I basically want my audience now to see a compact, just because this is the one thing that fucking blew my head off when I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Explain a step-by-step process of what you were doing, the amount of shit that you used to do in a day versus what you're doing now and what your focus is, because I think that's a great one to answer.
Every day basically started with, and I'm sure a lot of coaches will be listening to this and they'll be feeling this right now, it started with that panic, it started with that anxiety, it started with that, oh fuck, members are leaving, clients are leaving, oh shit, we need more clients. But the issue I had was I had so many different moving pieces. I had the challenges, I was still running my own one-to-one clients. I was running 100 clients, no, maybe more than that, 120 clients I was running over my own WhatsApp, right? Whilst also trying to build a team, whilst also trying to do the recipes, whilst also trying to write a recipe book, also create content, write emails. Every day was just, I don't really know how to describe it. It was just fight or flight, putting out fires every day. That's the only way I can describe it. It was just getting into the trenches. And, you know, at some point I would leave the day and go, oh, signed up 3 people. We can sleep easy tonight. And then I'd wake up the next morning and 5 people's left. I'm like, fuck, right, we need to go again. And I was just selling. And see, in terms of like being authentic, you lose that straight away. If you've got multiple different products and you're just trying to sell every single day, people can see right through it.
Yeah, 100%.
They can see, you know, and you lose yourself as a person. And I very, very quickly fell out of love with everything that I was doing because I had no direction, I had no focus, I had no real drive anymore. I just woke up and it was just horrible. You know, I felt like I wasn't achieving anything, I wasn't sticking to the mission. I just kind of lost my way. And you know, it was interesting that you were talking about just having values and everything like that, and why maybe the low ticket app was a big learning curve for me. And the thing for me was that I didn't have that connection. I've built my whole business on having a connection with an audience and being authentic and being started off with the recipes in my mum's kitchen and everybody loved it. And, you know, like that was the big thing. You know, I was the budget meals with Fraz guy, and I lost that for so long because I tried to do everything. I ended up with fingers and so many pies and ended up eating fuck all of them, you know, because that was the issue, was I was just jumping between 10 different tasks every single day, and it was miserable. But where I am now is a lot happier.
Still stressed. Like, by the way, guys, right, so just to jump in there, what he says, it never fucking changes, right? It never, like, people are like, oh yeah, you've transformed his life, now he's suddenly chilled and he's living. That shit does not work. That's like, so one thing that I always say to people is like, there's a lot of fitness business mentors out there who are basically like, right, yep, so you get to a point of freedom, you do what you want, you live life on your own terms. Like, I'm not in business for that, right? I'm in business to enjoy my life. But if you look at someone like Elon Musk, I use him as an example every single time, right? That motherfucker is worth 500 billion, right? He is worth 500 billion, and the amount of times that I've heard him quote and say that the main thing that you always need to be doing is stuck solving the problems. So even though he's worth 500 billion, he spends the majority of his time still in an engine room with people who are getting paid probably a minimum wage, because that is where the fucking problems are. Right. So, for example, with Fraser now, like, yes, he's in a 10 times better situation, but all he basically does is he distributes his energy to focus on bigger level problem solving, which is still equally stressful. So I'll let you go now and explain it.
No, I think for me, just having that team and having that trust and having that guilt-free approach where you can delegate, but delegate in a way that is feeding off people's strengths. I think for the start, when I first started with the team, the big thing for me was I was just delegating any tasks that I couldn't be fucked in. That's the honest truth. And I'm sure so many people at the top of their game probably do the same. But what I needed to understand was what really makes that person tick. What is their strengths, right? I've got some guys who are great at Canva. I've got some guys who are shit. What's the point in me giving somebody a Canva task if I know they're shit? So just trying to understand your team first and foremost, and then build off the back of that was a big learning curve for me. And now when I wake up, as you say, it's not stress-free. I'm up early, I'm grinding, I'm crafting, I'm still doing the same things I was doing previously, but I'm doing it in a way that's structured. I'm doing it in a way that gives me fulfillment. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to remember, is that you only get one crack at this. You need to be leaving your desk fulfilled at the end of the day. And if you're not, fucking look at what you're doing.
Change what you're fucking doing. Yeah, honestly. The amount of online coaches I speak to where I'm like, they've come from different places and it's like, I hated doing that. Why fucking do it then? Like there's no amount of money that I would want to earn what would make me do something that I would hate doing. And there's no amount of money that I do which goes completely against my own morals, because like Fraser said earlier, it's like I won't be able to sleep at night. It made me feel that uncomfortable. So it's like, this is why I'm so like invested into people like doing things properly and doing it right. Where it's like, rather than just rushing and jumping at what the next fucking thing is, or where a lot of people, it's like, right, I'm just going to focus on max traffic, but it's a complete shit show, a mess in the back end, and you're signing up unqualified people and you're creating like operational drag because the amount of problems that you're getting inside your business. And I'm like, well, why don't you actually just do it right? Why don't we just focus on what your actual offer is? Why don't we focus on what your niche is? Why don't we focus on actually you getting into a point where you're presenting your personal branding, you enjoy creating content, you enjoy writing daily emails, you actually look at enjoying hiring people like setters and closers because you know the system and you understand the system, and then how, because it's not about what it is, it's about how. So I had a call with a guy yesterday, a meeting with a guy yesterday in Dubai who's an incredibly successful online coach, and he basically explained this process to me. I was like, look, you've got the what, the system that you've got is fucking very, 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 very good, but it's how are you doing it? And I was like, have you thought about doing that in this way? Oh, well, yeah, that's going to be 10 times better. Right, and that's just sometimes what it is. It's like, it's not just about what or why you're doing it. It's about how you act. It's about how you obviously behave, guys. So I think that's a great point to wrap it up. I don't want to keep Fraser for too long today, and I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. But as you can see there, I've really enjoyed that podcast, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it spoke about a lot of things that I'm really, really passionate about. And one thing that I really like is when people are so clear with what the message is. And I feel like you've hit the nail on the head, mate, and you're definitely going to add a lot of value to my audience. So have you got any passing, what would be, I'm not even going to say top three, right? I'm going to say top one. What is the top one bit of advice that you have got for a online coach or personal trainer looking to cement themselves in the industry and kind of position themselves in a place where their ability to scale like you have?
I think it would be very clear on your mission and never deviate from the mission. No matter the problem, no matter the issue, stick to what you truly value and what you truly believe, because it will stand you in good stead. And I know you can be in the trenches, you can have really, really, really fucking shit days and shit weeks, but it is truly worth it. And when you go to bed at night, just make sure that you're doing something that your mum would be proud of, is a big thing as well. Because see if you're not, and you're just fucking pulling the wool over people's eyes and, you know, bullshitting people every day and just trying to sign fuckers up just to make a bit of quick cash, you'll never stay in the game. You know, you need to have that mission. You need to have something that you truly value, and that's my mission. So yeah, hopefully that's clear for everybody.
Class. Right, brother. Thank you for coming on. And I'll see everybody on the next episode. Or, again, you'll be seeing the next YouTube video, because I'm now pumping out 4 long-form videos per week with the podcast, guys. Like, look, I'm giving you a lot here. So please subscribe if you're not subscribing. See you next time.
Cheers.